like Attila the Hun. I came here to conquer. Lanes bring the beef, I tell them no donker. They wanna play games, I shock them like Blanca. They still rudimentary, I'm tough like Tonka. And let me get this off my chest. I'm hearing going nowhere, so haters take a rest. Ain't nothing handed, just working hard, sweating. You can take that to the bank. I know I did bet.
Welcome to episode 4 of Eye of the Storm. I, of course, am your host, Tempestt. Please be sure to hit the like button, and if you're new and like the content, be sure to leave a sub and hit the notification bell to know when the next video goes up. It really helps the channel out. Also, if you haven't seen the previous episodes, feel free to give those a look as well. I've also started a playlist for ease of access. And also, if you haven't noticed, we got a new mic, so the sound should be a bit different. Let me know how that sounds. With that out of the way, let's get started. So this time, we'll go with part 2 of the arcade theme, and the original idea I had planned on executing, arcade fighting game culture. So yes, this is more fighting game centric, but this is also applicable to casual and competitive alike. Now, when it comes to arcade culture, if you know, you know. If not, well, there are some pretty basic things that happen in the arcade that you may or may not have had to been told about, but yeah, there was an etiquette. It varied from arcade to arcade, casual to more serious. However, things like calling next, practicing, sharing information, and so on had their rules. Let me give you an example. In some places, if you wanted next, you could just simply ask if there was an order or call next. However, I learned a different method which involved simply placing your quarter on the machine and waiting for your turn to come up. People knew that when you did that, you were going to step in next availability. Now, arcades had regulars who frequented and, as I mentioned before, strove to be the best in different things. In fighting games, you obviously just wanted to be the top of the top, or close to it. The other thing was you had people who would come in and want to seek a new challenge. You were then up to defending your turf, or if you were the invader, establishing that you, in fact, were the better player. Oh, and, of course, that your arcade was better too. Now, it was on some dojo plaque-taking nonsense that you would see in martial arts movies, but it was pretty fun. It was all about pride and, well, the improvement in learning for some. Simple bragging rights was enough for a few, but then when you factored in people like myself once I hit a certain age, there was a thirst, a hunger for competition, for learning, to get better. Unfortunately, I lived in a rather unknown area of PA, or Pennsylvania for those who aren't aware, for competition, and yeah. I also lived in a part of New Jersey that might as well have just been PA. So finding that was hard once I hit a certain level. This is why I really appreciated my dad taking me to other areas and letting me play in the arcade for a bit, because I had a very difficult time finding people who wanted to improve, in or out the arcade. Now, this also begs another aspect, respecting your opponent. Now, I'm not talking about the typical block here, respect frame data, or whatever's going on now. Back then, we didn't have YouTube, Twitch, or anything like that. So we didn't have access to frame data and tutorials and other things. There wasn't a specific state of mind that dictated if someone was random or not. They were just different styles. Now, yes, there were people who legitimately had no clue what they were doing, but those were pretty obvious. But people in general, yeah, they had a style that they used. So if it was less optimal, if you will, it kind of didn't matter because it was their style. You had to figure it out or hold that L on your chest in front of everyone watching in real time. Rage quitting had its own set of consequences then. Trash talk could really just be held to the game and your skills because there were no factors like connections, networks, Wi-Fi, you know what I mean? Plus, nobody wanted to catch one for being a punk, and yeah, like I said in the previous video, you had to have a certain respect for your opponent. And nobody likes a whiny brat. Nobody. Yeah. Arcades taught you to be adaptive and accepting of the nonsense you were presented, even if it was just a gimmick. Now, it also taught you that gimmicks only get you so far, how to fight under pressure, how to handle trash talk or dish it back in some cases, and most importantly, how to take a loss. The other thing it taught you that is extremely important is that there will always be someone better, or someone who happens to have your number. Now, I love the arcade culture, and while there's so much more to go into, I don't want to take up all of your time. I will say that it's an experience like no other that I can honestly hope that if you haven't, you do get to experience it in some way, shape, or form with places like Round 1 and all these other places that are kind of, reviving the arcade culture. Obviously, once it's safe to go outside. But this topic will likely be revisited in detail on another project later on. But feel free to share your arcade experiences on that end. It doesn't matter if it's casual or not. We discuss video games here, and that's the point. Now, let me know in the comments if you liked, sub if you want more, and be sure to share this video with a friend. And shoutouts to Defying Zero, and thank you everyone for 50. The 50 sub video special will be up soon, and honestly, Defying Zero is the one that gave me the idea of using the remix. So depending on the clips I get, it may or may not be set up before this video, but most likely will be released sometime between Saturday and Tuesday to even things out a bit. With that being said, we'll catch you next time. So be safe, press buttons, and catch you on the flip side.
Go!